I want to spend a couple minutes on property taxes because this is such an important story, and I think one that is not well understood. And so it's important to understand the work that the state legislature has been doing on this. Prior to 2009, it was about an equal split between what the state provided towards local school districts and what local property taxes paid for that. And then there was some small amount of money that came from the feds. But when the oil boom happened and the oil money was coming in, one of the things that the state decided to do was say, let's take on a bigger share of paying for local K through 12 funding. And that's where those lines separate. You see the orange line starting to head skyward and the local line staying flat. What in dollar amount today, in 2017, local school districts through property taxes are actually contributing just under $100 million less than they were back in that 2010 timeframe. The state, on the other hand, is paying almost $570 million more than we were at that time frame. So this has gone from a 1-to-1 ratio to almost more than a 2-to-1 ratio, approaching a 3-to-1 in terms of what the state pays versus the local. So if you hear someone at the state or state legislator talking about permanent property tax relief, this is the slide. This is by the state permanently taking on a higher portion of K through 12 spending through state revenue sources. It's lowered the burden on local taxpayers. And so then if you look at it in percentage basis, you know, the local used to pay about 45% of it, and now the local is paying about half of that in terms of the K through 12 on a per student basis. So what does this mean? Again, there's been a lot of discussion about one element here, which is the gray bar, ending the 12% buy down. Been very little discussion about the blue bars, and so I want to make sure that we're doing all of our, since we have all the students here, we can do a little math together. The additional K through 12 relief that's coming through the increases in student funding on the formulas showed either from the state in this next biennium is estimated to be $154 million more dollars coming from the state. The state also has taken on the transfer of the payments for county social services. That equals about 161. So the county was also another group that taxed through property taxes to pay for that. The state did end the 12% buy down. This is something I talked about in the state last year, which is it was unsustainable. The state needed to have an off-ramp for property taxes because the property taxes are driven by local decisions, not state decisions. And it was unsustainable going into the future because it was a percentage of something that somebody else decided. And even in the worst cases, it actually subsidized local spending that may not have been affordable by the local jurisdictions. And so very smartly, a legislature getting out of that. The net of those things together just in this session is that there's more net relief going. And so I know that if you're from a city like Minot and your property taxes have gone up, you're looking at this chart and going, what the heck? I would just say, hey, individual results may vary because if your valuation has gone up, if your city leaders, the local school board, the county, the park district has decided to offer more services, if any of those have increased their mills, you know, that could have an impact on your taxes. But it varies by, you know, it'll vary by individual property and by individual city, but, you know, understand that from a state standpoint, the state is doing more than ever between the K through 12 and through the social services to help keep property taxes down. So if you have a concern about property taxes, I have a simple piece of advice. Talk to your park board, talk to your county commission, and talk to your city elected officials because that's the group that's making the decision, that's driving, and then that gets back to how we design our communities, which we'll talk about in Main Street.